now welcome Liana Liu Ioannides, who is a youth delegate from Cyprus. On this occasion, I would like to say a special welcome to all our youth delegates who are part of a dedicated program of a Congress. It is called the Rejuvenating Politics Initiative, which was launched by the Congress 10 years ago as part of its commitment to promoting the participation of young people in public life and in the decision-making process at local and regional level. And by the way, it was also an important topic in all the discussions around the Reykjavik summit. So that's what we already implement here. So we are pleased to welcome you, Ms. Ioannides, and I would also like to encourage other youth delegates later on to contribute to the debate following the presentation. So, Ms. Ioannides, I give you the floor for 10 minutes, please.
Thank you. Dear Congress members, honorable mayors, fellow youth delegates, dear present and future decision makers. My name is Liana Liu Ioannides, and I'm the youth delegate from Cyprus. Having the honor to speak after the mayors of two major cities, I would like to contribute to this discussion on behalf of all youth delegates on how to include and amplify the voices of youth in our shared efforts to build a sustainable Europe. I would like to begin by referring to some of the points made by the mayors of Reykjavik and Zurich, and specifically, I would like to refer to three words mentioned. The first word was mentioned by the mayor of Reykjavik, and it's the word transforming. Specifically, the mayor mentioned the importance of transforming cultural norms, such as, for example, geothermal pools and biking, and at the same time, transforming ways of thinking in order to match the current realities. I would like to add a third way to transform, and that is transforming the ways that we can include youth in decision-making. The second word comes from the speech of the Mayor of Zurich, and that is the word crisis, because that is the key word, that we are not reaching our targets and that we have to work harder in order to achieve this. The third word is the word zusammen, together, because this cannot be an effort that local authorities take by themselves without including youth. So on behalf of all youth, I would like to present some ways in which we would like to add to the recommendations on the additional protocol proposed toward the European Charter of Local Self-Government. While we were exchanging views as youth delegates, there was a recurring question. What are the most pressing environmental issues? In a continent as diverse as Europe, with local authorities themselves diverse in both issues faced and methodologies, our environmental response must also be varied and allow the local authorities to take action based on the realities and resources available to them. For example, in Iceland was mentioned the geothermal capacity, and in Zurich, the federalism. In order for this to happen, we must decentralize decision-making on environment to allow local authorities to be guarantors of decision-making. At the same time, however, as youth delegates, we recognize the difficulties created by the lack of harmonization, not only regionally, but also nationally. An example of this is waste management, which is one of the most important environmental issues. Just in the EU, 55% of all waste is disposed in landfills and water bodies. In discussions among the youth delegates, we discussed our shared cross-border frustration for a very simple but costly example, the fact that color bins in different municipalities do not have the same color, which creates confusion among youth and leads to reduced recycling. As I mentioned, this is a small but very costly example that demonstrates to us that harmonization is also very important. And in making sure that we have both decentralization and harmonization, youth can contribute significantly. How? I would like to offer an example coming from my beloved city, Nicosia, which is the last divided city in Europe. A few months ago, the youth initiated a local conference of youth, Elkoi Cyprus, saw 100 Cypriot youth from both communities coming together to draft a policy recommendation paper addressing local authorities a series of innovative policy recommendations. Elkoi Cyprus demonstrates a key fact: the environment has the power to unite us. Yesterday's plenary session also demonstrated the challenges that local authorities face, tackling a plethora of urgent and burning issues all at once. The environment is a common ground on which we can build strong roots for a diverse, peaceful, and pluralistic Europe. The need for more harmonization and coordination that comes with the necessary decentralization can be more effectively met by incorporating the ideas, determination, and momentum that youth bring to the decision-making tables. Unfortunately, however, the efforts of youth are not acknowledged nor considered always in decision-making. An example of this is Delegate of Cyprus, which was acknowledged by the Secretary General of the United Nations himself, however, did not receive any financial or political support from the local authorities. Delegate of Cyprus is just one example of one group of young individuals that came together in one small island country of the Council of Europe. I want us all to take a moment to reflect on this reality, how unfortunate and tragic it is that the individual and collective efforts of millions of youth across Europe, overcoming barriers such as ongoing conflicts, racial discrimination, and economic barriers to unite for environmental action, do not become part of the decision-making processes that define our prospects for a livable future. Let us take a moment to realize the degree of potential that we do not succeed to harness by not considering the voices of youth. Let us take a moment to realize the ways in which this lost potential breaks the trust of youth towards local authorities and regional democratic processes. Let us take a moment to realize how this lost potential affects our generation's prospects for a future that meets our expectations, hopes, and dreams. Let us take a moment to realize that all these moments of action or inaction, all these moments of lost potential or gained opportunities build up in the coming years and decades, in the years that have already passed. The Council of Europe is an international protagonist in the safeguarding of human rights, including the right to the environment. One of the topics concerning today's debate is the addition of an additional protocol that acknowledges the right of local authorities to participate in environmental decision-making. Through the addition of this protocol, the Congress rightly seeks to decentralize environmental decision-making, legitimizing the rights and responsibility of local authorities to be leaders of environmental efforts. As youth delegates, we believe that this by itself is not enough. To truly make this not just a right of policymakers, but a right of people and a right of youth, as youth delegates, we call for this protocol to make it compulsory and not optional for local authorities to acknowledge youth and financially and politically support youth-initiated measures. Most importantly, we call for this protocol to include meaningfully youth in the decision-making processes, for example, through public consultations and youth councils, who have been remarkably successful when implemented in the past. As the Mayor of Zurich mentioned, compared to the cost of transition, often cities do not have enough funds to fund the transition. However, including youth in decision-making processes does not take as many funds, but the investments and the outcomes that come of this are invaluable. Acknowledgement, support, and inclusion should not solely depend on the political will of individual decision-makers. The fact that in this thematic debate, the voices and perspectives of youth delegates is given the same space as that of mayors of two major cities is a sign of commitment, which gives us hope and determination, as well as the hope to claim the space that we rightfully should be part of, in order to formally request the formal recognition of our right to be included. This right is one that has to be protected in our right for change. Dear decision makers, we urge you, it is in your hands to structurally change the status quo. Instead of youth struggling to find a way to have a voice towards local authorities, and often against local authorities or fighting against local authorities, let us youth and local authorities fight united for effective and intersectional environmental action. On behalf of all youth delegates, thank you.
Now I give the floor again to Ms. Ioannides, please.
Thank you for the floor, and as a young person, I would like to begin by saying that I feel very inspired and more optimistic by the level of sincere and organized support and investment that happens within municipalities and local authorities for a transition. For example, with preserving ecosystems, providing support for other countries, and making steps in research and innovation. I'd also like to highlight the success of previous conferences, for example, the Reykjavik Convention. And at the same time, I would like to highlight a point made by the fellow youth delegate from Romania, that climate education also has to be an important point in selling our actions to youth and making them want to get involved. I would also like to highlight a point that was made apparent by the participants, and that is the fact that local authorities often lead the pace and drive the direction of environmental action nationally. I would also like to repeat the words of the Commissioner of Human Rights yesterday in yesterday's plenary session. The youth are the driving force of environmental issues. So what we would like to see is that the efforts of youth and the efforts of local municipalities and our successes, both as leading the efforts, are not disconnected, but rather we work collaboratively together, because this is the only way forward. Because the reality is that to find the political courage to make hard decisions, as a speaker mentioned, has to be taken across borders, beyond borders, and this is something we can only do if we collaborate as local authorities and youth. I feel very optimistic for the additional protocol to be added. So let's make sure that in this protocol we include legally the responsibility of local authorities and ways to include youth to make this fight together. And thank you so much for this debate. And obviously this is not the last step, but only a step in the process. As the Mayor of Reykjavik mentioned, this is a process that takes a lot of time, and as every person in society, we're here to contribute and to be part of the process. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, colleagues. The debate is now closed. I would like to say thank you again to our guests. Thank you that you traveled to Strasbourg, to the Council of Europe. And we heard about outstanding examples of local authorities, of a contribution of local authorities to protect our environment, to fight against the climate change. And I think it shows what contribution a local level can make in the fight against the climate change. And also, colleagues, thank you very much also for your participation, for your intensive participation. And this gave us even a broader view about all the activities. There are a lot of examples. And I think we see and we heard that the local level is fully aware of the possibilities and the need to act, especially looking at the future generations. It's important to involve our young generation. And we are fully aware about the necessity to act. But I also have to say, we need the competences. It's different in different countries. We need the financial means. And so that's why we also continue our work on this point, also with the additional protocol. We are also in dialogue and multi-level governance with the other levels. And you also mentioned, it's a question about what is the national level doing, what can we do? So we will continue. We will continue the work on this topic with practical exchange, hearing about best practice and in our countries, in our municipalities, but also in a dialogue with governments and in our work. So thank you very much again, being our guests, and wish you a lot of success in your municipalities, in your cities, and also colleagues, thank you for your participation. So now I close this point.